Hey, a lot of people think JBL sucks. What do you think?
As a proud Welshman, I can tell you right now, I love that guy. Love JBL.
You're a
bag. You.
This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained? Yes, thank you. We appreciate that. We had a decent week, but that's in the past, and now we look forward. And with that, we have John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate. King Gift Egbelu may or may not be here. He's under the weather a little bit. Mike Friday, the three-time Olympic sevens coach, and George Hook, the Irish rugby legend. We're all looking at what's on the slate. Let's get to it. 48-37, a pretty good week. But, John, you managed to get Gift sick, so now we're not sure if we're going to get his picks while we're taping this. So nice job. Good work.
I wish you would get sick and die.
But what would you do? You wouldn't have TRO?
I would throw a party. I'd go over to England. I'd throw a party with the legendary coach Mike Friday. I'd go down to Brazil and I'd throw a party with the King Gift Egbelu, and the world would celebrate the fact that you're no longer here.
So they'd celebrate me.
Ooh. Tell me in our pre-production meeting, which by the way is you just writing the show because you don't do any kind of prep whatsoever, that you did not speak with disgust about bald white guys.
We have the topic. It was on the whiteboard here in the office. 17 of LA. Because he punched and kicked his way to 2 yellow cards that turned into a red card, basically submarining the entirety of the Riflica RFCLA, whatever you want to call them, season.
You just talked about it. You just wasted several minutes talking about it.
But now you just talked about me talking about it, so you wasted time.
There's no whiteboard. We can't afford one.
All right, so let's go to observations. John, you look very talkative today, so why don't you go first?
I thought, look, Six Nations, we found out exactly what I think we already knew. Scotland and England, they play really tough. They play fun, exciting rugby, by the way. But Finn Russell misses 3 kicks. That was the difference in the game. Very surprising. Finn Russell lines up on that kick there to win the game. You think that's the guy you want kicking. It's like Jordan shooting a basketball. Didn't miss by much, but he missed, which is pretty surprising. I think we knew France was going to come out very mad and beat the living shit out of Italy, and that's exactly what they did. In the Major League Rugby, we found out that Utah is a really good team, not great defense, but they can score with anybody, and the anthem absolutely sucks.
Okay, Mike.
I've just that French game, because Italy didn't play badly for the first 40 minutes, and they got their asses handed to them. The strength in depth, right? Amazing. Like the bar at fullback comes in, scores a couple, makes a couple. Ramos at 10, his kicking boots were well and truly on. And then the pack were formidable, and then they rolled 7 off and put 7 on. The Italians were valiant and they gave everything, and the score is unfortunate for them, but France certainly reaped havoc in that game. So impressive.
Yeah, the Italians played heroically defensively, but then they just got overwhelmed. But one thing I wanted to bring up was Dylan Fawcett of the Chicago Hounds got his 100th cap playing as a hooker in Major League Rugby, making history for not only the league, but himself. He's the first one in the league to make 100 caps, and he scored a try in the process.
By the way, Dylan was 13 for 13 in lineouts the first week, and I didn't see one that he missed the second week either. That guy's a player you want to have on your team. Hey, Mike, what did you think about England? Did you think England was playing well, tough, with passion? I know they could have lost the game, but Scotland played really well.
That was some segue. You didn't even finish the name Fawcett, and you go to Six Nations.
Because I want to ask Mike's opinion. I don't want to hear you talk, you bald-headed.
I would probably say that England attacked very conservatively. I was a bit disappointed with England's attack, and I was even more disappointed with their D. We got opened up first phase by Scotland. Scotland were impressive in open play. And what concerns me a little bit, if I'm honest, when I look at England, is the pack is doing a job. But we've got so much talent in that back line, but we're just playing within ourselves. We're not expressing ourselves. We're not having a crack. We're kicking the arse out of the ball at the moment when we don't always need to. So Scotland lost that game, and England stayed in it to dog it out and win it. So that's probably the huge positive, is that they're winning those tight games. But we're not playing pretty. We're not playing well. We're just getting it done. 2
things I took out of that. Number one, I get suspicious when you say, if I'm being honest, because that means you're lying to us the rest of the time. And B, should the two Smiths be starting for England?
I think in the current form, yes. I just question the centre pairing. Personally, I don't think Slade should be starting. I think Freeman should be in the centre with Ollie Lawrence, or maybe move Ollie Lawrence and have Dingwall with Lawrence. But I think defensively, Slade is an issue. It's not I'm digging out Slade. I think he's been a fabulous player for England, but there's a lot of young men that are probably playing better than him at the moment that deserve the shirt.
I agree with you.
No one cares if you agree with him. He's a legendary coach. You're a bald-headed turtle without a shell.
And that segues nicely to our recurring segment, Player of the Week. And the nominees are Devin Williams of the Bulls. The number 15 caused the Lions all kinds of trouble with his audacious playmaking skills, including his run, kick, and chase that accounted for one of the weekend's best tries. Some guy named Dupont, that's right, Antoine Dupont, the French number 9, had another astounding match, this time in his team's absolute destruction of Italy, particularly in the second half. And Dom Akina of Houston, the football convert, shone brightly under the Hollywood lights for visiting Houston, who were down 21-7 before destroying L.A. in the second half. John, who is your player of the week?
Number 10 from Utah, 6 of 6 on kicks, and he was a grown man out there. It's unbelievable, a guy that big and tough has that much feel for kicking, but this guy's special.
Your submission didn't make the deadline, so management couldn't count your pick.
I don't care.
And you cost that player recognition. Nice work.
Management can...
Mike.
Interesting enough, my nomination is probably going to be blown out and all because I think the fullback for France, Labar, was different.
Are you guys not paying attention to the rules here?
Oh, no, I'm going to give you an answer. I'm just stating that he was outstanding. But you can't look past Dupont. Didn't have the perfect game, but he stuck in it, and he was always being creative, and he makes them tick.
And Gift agrees with me with my pick, and that means that we determine who the player of the week is because we only have 4 votes, but he does agree with me that it is Dupont.
No, he doesn't. Gift has never agreed with you. He's a smart guy.
When it comes to Antoine Dupont, he just transcends these kinds of things, John. I mean, that's why we get along.
So you agree with Antoine Dupont. You agree with legendary coach Mike Friday.
I agree with the king and the coach. And that leads us to Gift's favorite segment.
Grown-ass man!
And the nominees are Carlo Tizzano of the Western Force. Look, 34 tackles is a lot over 3 matches, but he had that many in 1 match without a miss in Western Force's upset of the Brumbies, who were at home. Crazy, crazy stuff. Manuel Ardao, number 6 of Miami. It's not the size of the shark in the fight, John. It's the size of the fight in the shark. And at just 5'9" and 200 pounds, he ain't the biggest flanker in the MLR, but his heart and game are huge. His relentlessness in getting into the try zone was just a piece of his performance in helping Miami avoid another mind-numbing loss. Tom Rogers or Jack Morgan of Wales. They both scored tries. They were both physically inspirational for their team in a valiant effort, but only one can be the nominee. And since John doesn't want anybody with a scrum cap, especially a winger, that rules Rogers out and makes Jack Morgan the nominee. John, who's your grown-ass man of the week?
It's like picking Cleveland Williams against Muhammad Ali. Oh, he was game for a couple rounds before he got knocked out. The hell? Give me Tizzano.
Tizzano?
Yeah, same guy. That 34 tackles. I like it. Not one miss.
No, he's Italian. He's not Japanese.
Just replay it. You got it. Go to legendary coach Mike Friday.
Mike, who's your grown-ass man of the week?
It's Tizzano for me. Western Force. Best stats ever recorded in Super Rugby. Wow. Phenomenal. I mean, he must have been a jack in the box everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt, but he's a physical beast. When you look at the guy, he's a beast. When you look at Manuel Ardao, he's 5'9", 200 pounds, and he's out there banging away on both sides of the ball.
Well, the guy's a leprechaun. Does that mean that we got to put him in something?
Did he get 34 tackles in his game?
Good question.
I'm going with Ardao. I think he should get the recognition. But Carlo Tizzano
is this week's grown-ass man!
Isn't it kind of like contradictory to the grown-ass man to give a guy that's like very vertically challenged like that?
Now a short guy can't be a grown-ass man, John?
You said he's grown. You said he's grown. Hello. The mere adjective itself disqualifies him.
I hate to say it. You make a point. We'll have to consider it. But we're going to take a break. We're going to send you guys to the green room. We'll bring in George, and then we'll come back with you guys for our picks. after this.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
And we're back with Mr. George Hook. And George, I believe this finds you in Portugal.
In the wonderful Algarve province of Portugal in the south. And the interesting thing for Americans, it's very important, breaking news. From the 17th of May, United Airlines is going to fly from New York, New Jersey, so it'll probably be Newark, to Faro in the Algarve. Never happened before, so it's a big deal.
All right, I just need your address so that I can make my reservations now.
We'd love to have you here.
Okay, and I'd love to have you segue to our recurring segment,
Headlines with Hook.
First one up, George, is one that we missed last week because we ran out of time. The London Irish to the URC.
I actually thought we had deliberately left it out because there was a whole pile of horse manure, right? This is what your president will call fake news, right? Who in the name of all that is good and holy would invite London Irish into the URC, who at best will be a second division club? Point A. Point two, we don't even know if they've been bought. We don't even know if they are actually financially viable. They owe millions. Mr. Trump, this is the first time I've agreed with you since I heard about fake news. And even if it was true, let's say Eddie Jordan for our Formula One guy, has bought London Irish. If they are accepted by the English Rugby Union, the RFU, nobody in their right mind is going to have them in the URC. It's just not going to happen. It's horse manure.
George, it's on the internet. It's got to be true. Come on, man.
You've been an American and a John Wayne fan. Maybe I should say it's buffalo manure, but it is manure. Trust me. If London Irish are in the URC, I will run naked around St. Stephen's Green in Dublin.
I'm torn on this. I'd like to see it, but at the same time, I don't know if I'd want to see it. Let me chew on that.
Okay.
We need to get off that last image. Let's go to the next headline. How do the Irish neutralize/stop Dupont?
What do you think Fabien Galtier, the French coach, is thinking about tonight for that game? Do you know what he's saying? How can we neutralize Jemison Gibson Park? Because if Dupont is the best scrum half in the world, Gibson Park's the second best, right? France are also more than Dupont. They actually are. And we saw that against Italy. I know he was man of the match. I know he got a couple of tries, blah, 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 blah. But France were magnificent. Now, how does that France against Italy, and then you have France versus England, how does that scan? I don't know. I wish I knew. But it's what makes French rugby. The reason New Zealand rugby is boring is because they're very good and they do it every week and blah, blah, blah. No other team in the world would have delivered two performances back to back like France. The Irish problem is the scrums aren't going to be a problem for them, it looks like, and what they're going to do about that. Ringrose, I assume, is going to be out following the red card. There's a bit going on for Ireland.
Alan Doris, Furlong.
Yeah.
You know?
So because you're a superb broadcaster, you can come up with a bright idea like how do we neutralize Dupont. But in fact, it's a bit like your London Irish story. It's buffalo manure. Like, Ireland cannot concentrate in one play. You just can't. If they start concentrating on Dupont, then Ramos is going to do something. France could drop Demi and Penaud. I mean, probably one of the great right wings of world rugby. And they can afford to drop him and bring in these kids.
Yeah.
They are awash with talent. They are magnificent. Great phrase that us broadcasters use. We say, my heart says one thing, but my head says another. Well, my heart says Ireland, but my head says France. This is going to be, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fabulous.
I want to see both teams fully healthy if possible. And, we're not going to get Ringrose, but they're going to get Entimac back too. So it's going to be great to watch. Looking forward to it.
There hasn't been a place kicker since Don Clark. Now, Don Clark was New Zealand fullback before you were born. With the accuracy level of Ramos, I think. I mean, he's just metronomic.
He's a machine, absolute machine.
I prefer metronomic.
All right, we'll go with metronomic. I have to take time out to look that up, though. Final headline, Super Rugby. The home teams scored 214 points. The visitors scored 160 points. That's 374 points total. But divided by 5 matches, that comes out to 74.8 points per match. Should the rest of the world be concerned about this?
Well, I know what's in the back of your mind. You're going to say, Georgie, this is more important than messing with the scrums in America or messing with all the other rules they're doing. Isn't it, Georgie? Well, Georgie,
did you see my notes again? Is that what happened?
Georgie is not going to rise to the bait. That's the point. Because American rugby is intent on self-destruction. And the points are a result of the law changes. There's a connection. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a spectacle. And they're succeeding. 74 points better than 14 points? Yeah, of course it is. And watching tries is great. It's the point is that what's happening is they're trying to create a spectacle. And it's not going to work because rugby wasn't meant to be a spectacle. Baseball and cricket have 2 things in common. They are not spectacle. They are bores. And the next thing after baseball and cricket is rugby. Rugby was meant to be boring. It was meant to have scrums and line-outs and physical contact. Just having guys running amok up and down the pitch. It wasn't a better match because France scored 74 points. That didn't make it a better match. In essence, I'm with you. We have to have a concern as to why all these points are being scored. Yes, I'm with you. It is a worry. But they are intent on doing it. That's their intent. The powers that be, the guys in the smoke-filled rooms are probably saying, isn't it great? Isn't it great? 74 points. Let's make it 90 next week.
Yeah.
But that's not the game. Rugby is something special. It's different from all other sports because of the scrum, for instance. Now, if you take the scrum away, it's not rugby anymore. What we want is a game that is what it is meant to be. 74.8 points per match is not the game we want it to be. It's a spectacle. It's Barnum and Bailey. We don't want Barnum and Bailey. We want something deadly serious that we can worry about. Confrontation between men and indeed women. That's what makes this game so wonderful. What made this game wonderful was that you could have short, fat fellas playing it. You could have tall, thin fellas playing it. You could have fast fellas playing it. You could have slow fellas playing it. What they're now trying to create is a game that there's just 15 sumo wrestlers on the pitch who can also run quickly.
There was a lot in there, and it was a great answer. And the best thing that I took out of that was the fact that you were speaking in the third person like an NFL wide receiver, saying Georgie a couple of times, which is fantastic. George Hook, thank you again for this week's
Headlines with hook.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now.
And we are back. And gentlemen, we have to get to the business of making picks. Let's start with the URC. John, who do you like?
The team I picked the last couple weeks, and they've won, which is unusual because they don't win many games the last at least decade. Zebre have Dragons, and they've been winning games. They don't have to lose a lot of players to their national team. They're playing at home. It's a completely different team playing at home than they play elsewhere. Give me Zebre.
You know, John, despite the fact that you indeed take the limited bus, you did point out that Zebre is always a good pick when it comes to covering.
What is a limited bus?
You know what the limited bus is, John.
No, I don't. What is a limited bus?
If your parents didn't tell you, I'm not going to tell you.
What is a limited bus? What are you saying? You're saying something here. You're saying something. What is that? This is why Mike and I are leaving and going to 2 Cents Rugby. Because that dude's cool. He's a cool dude. We like him a lot. We don't like you. Nobody likes you. I just flew to UK. I flew to Amsterdam because my flight got screwed up. Nobody likes you over there.
John's muted, Mike, as we move on to get your pick in the URC. Who do you like?
I'm going to go Ospreys. I'm not sure they'll win, but I think they'll certainly cover the 15.5. Glasgow, that's a big number for Glasgow. They're missing players. Ospreys have got too much fight and grit in them, even away from home. They might win, they might lose, but they're not losing by 15.5.
All right, and here's what Gift had to say.
Matt has made me do this like 10 times already. So I'm going to just do this again in the pool. This is my vengeance, all right? I'm going to do it in the pool in the blazing hot sun right now, all right? My first URC, Blue Bulls going against the Stormers, 14.5 points. Blue Bulls will cover that and get the win.
And my pick in the URC is going to be...
If you saw how many edits there are here, this is why we want to go to 2 Cents Rugby.
My pick is going to be Ulster.
We have got to some point show the edits on here. It would take days. It takes days to tape these shows.
All right, so let's move on to the MLR because we don't have days.
You didn't make a pick, dummy.
I did so, stupid.
Oh, you're picking one of your Irish little teams.
No, I'm picking smart. I'm picking a value.
They just lost to Zebre.
All right, let's move on. Mike, who do you like in the MLR?
Obviously, I've been a big fan of San Diego the last couple of weeks, but I think going to DC is going to be a cold affair, probably colder than Cape Town. And they're decent at home, so I think DC win that.
Don't sink to John's level with the weather ball breaking. That's just...
It is cold in Cape Town, man. It's cold.
You talked about how bad the travel was between Joburg and Pretoria, like you're flying halfway around the world. It's an hour-and-a-half drive.
All right, okay. Who do you like, John?
I'm going to take Utah. Utah at home, those guys can run. They can run and score. I think Nala's a very good team, by the way. I just think Utah's going to outscore them. Give me Utah at home.
And the King had this to say.
And going to places that are completely the opposite of where I'm at right now. We're looking at Chicago and New England. New England coming off of a break. Chicago coming off of a loss. Look for New England to be able to keep the game, get the game win, but I look at Chicago to be able to cover the points.
And my pick is going to be Miami. I think they have no problem covering that 14-point spread, and it could be a ton more. Not crazy about the direction the Anthem are going in right now. Let's take a break. We'll come back with Super Rugby picks and our picks of the week after this. From New York City comes America's longest-running and most popular rugby show. The biggest names in Major League Rugby, MLR highlights, and big match previews. Rugby Wrap-Up presents MLR Weekly, made in New York City. Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. And we are back, and we have our Super Rugby picks. John, who do you like in Super Rugby?
Tamina Snuka. is the daughter of legendary Jimmy Superfly Snuka. She's a wonderful young lady. She's a good friend of mine. She absolutely hates you, Matt, and she would beat you half to death. But I'm going to take Waratahs over the Fijians.
How do you know when someone's beaten half to death?
Hopefully she goes too far. That'd be cool. Like, oh, no, she killed him. Rats.
What's the difference between a half and 3/4?
It's a guess. She would beat you up. You'd have to wear your scrum cap, like you and your Tag Bernie guy.
Blah, 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 blah. Mike, who do you like?
I'm going for the Chiefs. It's 13.5. It's a big number, but I think the Chiefs attacking game, and they've been decent. They look really good. They got one of the Sevens boys from New Zealand on the ring, Leroy Carter. He's going great guns. He's dotting down a try a week. So I'll take the Chiefs to win and cover the 13.5 against the Brumbies.
All right, and here's what the King had to say.
Going down to places that have similar weather to us, but probably have more storms than we do. Looking at Super Rugby Pacifica, as we're looking at the Hurricanes taking on the Blues. The Blues are favored by 4.5. That is craziness. The Blues are this year's Crusaders. The Hurricanes are absolutely going to get the win at home and cover the points. Getting the win covers the points one way or another. So give it to the Hurricanes.
And I'm going to go with the Western Force at home, getting 10.5 points from the Reds. Western Force just coming off that huge win against Brumbies. I like the Western Force. And that leads us to our final segment, Picks of the Week. Johnny, who do you like?
Boy, you're so good at introducing this. You could never do live television, ever. We need 2 cents rugby. 2 cents. Call us. Utah and Nala. Utah, those men can run with that ball. Nala's a good offense too. Utah, not much defense so far. They may have some later in the year. They don't have it right now. Give me the over in Utah and Nala.
Mike.
Well, I'm going to go French as always. We're going to go on the road again. Let's try and pick an away winner in that top 14. Not much to choose from, but I'm probably going to go for Bordeaux to win away at Perpignan.
Hey, the top 14 has been good for you for your picks of the week this season. Here's what the King weighed in with.
For my pick of the week, I'm looking over at the Lions taking on the Sharks. The Lions are at home and favored for some reason. Look, the Sharks have a million injuries, but you know what they don't have? Absolute inability to just do damage when it matters most. Sharks are going to end up winning this, covering the points and the spread. Give it to the Sharks on this one.
And my pick is going to be the over in the Seattle-Houston match. And on that note, we're out of time. I want to thank John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words. We hope you get better. Mike Friday, the 3-time Olympic Sevens coach, George Hook, the Irish legend, and thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows, including MLR Weekly this week with Greg Cooper, the head coach of Utah. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Tell your friends about us, sign up for our weekly newsletter, and please join our American Red Cross blood donor team.
Wrap it up. This isn't a garage sale. 3-time Olympic coach. How great is that? Your head looks like one of those rings, Matt. Empty.